I've done it once again. One TikTok on every single Pokemon, this time in Generation 4. And let me tell you, I had a lot to say about a lot of the Pokemon this generation, because Generation 4 Platinum was my first main series game, back in the day. So sit back, relax, get ready for the Aspect Ratio 2 flip cause of their TikToks, and hey, don't forget to go follow my TikTok if you haven't yet, because Generation 5 starts tomorrow. Also, just like last time, after the Pokemon compilation, it'll be a nice One Piece corner compilation, because I finished One Piece this generation as well. Pokemon number 387, and the start of Generation 4. Turtwig. Turtwig holds a special place in my heart, as he was the first starter Pokemon I ever chose in my first ever Pokemon game. And then I couldn't beat the third gym, so I reset and chose somebody different, but still, Turtwig holds the title as my first starter, still. Turtwig is such an adorable little turtle, I absolutely love him. And he's fantastic in the anime too, love Ash's Turtwig as well. And of course, he and Totodile hold the title for longest to evolve starter at level 18. So yeah, that's Turtwig. You never forget your first. Even if you did, delete your first after 3 gyms and then beat the game with somebody else. He still gets the title of first. He still counts. Pokemon number 388. Grottle. Is Grottle an awkward middle stage? I don't think so, but then again, Turtwig was literally my first starter ever, so there might be some nostalgia blindness going on here. I mean, I don't know, man. I like him just fine. I really like that story in the anime where, you know, Ash's Turtwig evolves, but now it's all slow, so it has to relearn to battle. Though apparently, after Ash's Turtwig evolves, its win-loss ratio plummets, so maybe you need 1 or 2 more training episodes. So, yeah, that's Grottle. Awkward or not, I don't know. These nostalgia goggles are really fucking up right now. Pokemon number 389. Torterra. Ooh, I love Torterra. He is such a cool, intimidating, big old turtle with spikes and a big old tree on his back, and other Pokemon ride on him. Super cool. And I absolutely gotta shout out my Torterra in my Pearl playthrough for tanking the champion's ace that's notorious for one-shotting guys, and, you know, being able to set up just enough to take him out and win. And I also gotta shout out this Torterra toy I've had for so many years, and the fact that a dog my family had at the time chewed up its tree, so then I rebuilt that tree using a bunch of spare pipe cleaners sitting around the house. Like, come on. That is a resourceful child right there. So, yeah, that's Torterra. Super cool, absolutely love him. And he isn't even my main Sinnoh starter. Pokemon number 390. Chimchar. There is always an exception. Normally I'm not a big fan of monkeys, but on my first Pokemon game playthrough, when I reset after not being able to beat the third gym, I chose Chimchar here, and he was the starter I had when I beat my first Pokemon game. Chimchar is such a neat little monkey, you know? And I absolutely love him in the anime too, of course, a fantastic storyline all the way through. And shout out to the most recent game, where you get a random Sinnoh starter and an egg in the DLC, and my random egg just so happened to be Chimchar. That is like poetry right there. So yeah, that's Chimchar, the one and only monkey I'm here for. Pokemon number 391. Monferno. Now this is a middle stage. I'm pretty sure from what I've seen online that it's the consensus among the community that this is a really good middle stage, and, well, of course I'm gonna have to agree, it's my boy. And I'm definitely sure that one reason I really like Monferno is just how long you have him in Sinnoh. You know, he evolves, like, right near, like, right before or right after the first gym, and they don't get Infernape till, like, what, the 6th gym? Maybe the 5th? Maybe in between 5 and 6, so you're with Monferno for a long time, so definitely, you know, maybe warmed up to his design that way. So yeah, it's Monferno. The middle stage really needs to be good since you're with them for like a large chunk of the game, and I definitely think this time around, Game Freak delivered. Pokemon number 392. Infernape. My boy. As a young, dumb child, I didn't know about, you know, hatching and training up a well-diverse team, so just solo the game with your starter. And I couldn't really do that with Turtwig, but Infernape here, oh my my, he carries through the game. Even though there's a water-type gym and a rock and Fire Elite Four, he just destroys everything. He is just so cool. I absolutely love him. And then in the latest game, they updated his models, so his gold bits are all shiny-like, and that's, just a nice little extra touch to make him even cooler. So yeah, that's Infernape. This right here. This is my partner. Pokemon number 393. Piplup. Piplup is a fan favorite, thanks to Dawn having one in the anime, and it just being a penguin. Everyone loves penguins. I love penguins. I love Piplup. He's fantastic. Of course, Chimchar's my boy, so... But honestly, it's always a duel between Turtwig and Piplup for my second favorite, and that's wild since Turtwig was literally my first starter ever, and yet Piplup here is just going toe-to-toe with that nostalgia, so yeah, Piplup's pretty dang good. Well, of course, I actually do have a lot of nostalgia for Piplup too, of course, like I said, the anime. So yeah, that's Piplup. This man is so good, he can fight against nostalgia, and sometimes even wins. Pokemon number 394. Prinplup. And here we have Prinplup. I guess he's kind of my least favorite when it comes to all 9 of the Gen 4 Mon lines, Honestly, it's kind of him and Grottle going at it for, the worst. But, I have a little bit of nostalgia for Grottle, so Grottle wins for me, but might not win for others, Ironic that, once again, it's the Turtwig and Piplup lines going at it for me yet again, but this time for the bottom. But all this isn't to say I dislike Prinplup, he's fine, He's certainly not as awkward as some starter middle stages, I'd say he's a cut above the rest. He's just, bottom at the top tier. So yeah, that's Prinplup. Congratulations, we have a winner! The worst of the best. Pokemon number 395. Empoleon. The natural enemy to Infernape, yet I do really like Empoleon. He's fantastic. Water and Steel is a really cool type combination. And I just think that Empoleon looks cool. A neat Emperor Penguin with a metal trident on his face for armor, steel armor and such. Neat. And it's really neat how the Sinnoh starters have a sort of secondary reverse type chart going on where they can do, super effective damage to the mon that they're usually weak against, to the starter they're usually weak against. It's a neat idea and a neat execution. I really like it. So yeah, that's Empoleon. He may be an enemy to us Infernape fans, but hey, that doesn't stop me from being able to compliment him and like him, because he's also really cool. Pokemon number 396. Starly. Here we have the regional bird for Generation 4, and of course, since Generation 4 was the first game I grew up on, I love Starly. He's fantastic. I mean, Starly is just so much better than all those other regional birds that have existed thus far. Just look at him. He does the thing, man, these nostalgia goggles are really fucking up right now. I don't know. Is Starly, more well-designed than Pidgey? Who knows? The smart YouTube video people know, but I don't know. I just got my nostalgia. So yeah, that's Starly. He's not just any regional bird. He's a regional bird I grew up on, so therefore, he's much more well-designed with a splash of nostalgia on that coat. Pokemon number 397. Staravia. So I know that we usually think of the regional bird as a 3-stager, but this is the first time since Generation 1 where the regional bird has been a 3-stager. Of course, being a middle stage, Staravia doesn't really have too much going on with him, he's slightly bigger, slightly more intimidating Starly. Definitely not an awkward middle stage, definitely just fine. I like him just fine. Of course, I like him a lot because nostalgia. And the Starly line is the easiest thing to nickname ever. Call him Star. It's so simple. The end. Works for the entire line. Easy. So yeah, it's Staravia. A fine middle stage that finally follows the trend that we just expect, even though we haven't gotten in a while. Pokemon number 398. Staraptor. Now this is a final stage for a regional bird. I absolutely love Staraptor. No surprise, lots of nostalgia. But still, he's just a really, cool, intimidating looking bird. And I've seen him drawn, friendly looking before as well, so he can pull off both. He's a fantastic partner to have. And this man learns the insanely good fighting type move, Close Combat, like, oh, now that is some good coverage against Ice and Rock types. And of course, when I think Brave Bird, I think Staraptor, so like, all of his moves just, harm him, but he doesn't care because he's taking you down. So yeah, it's Staraptor. It's gotta be more than nostalgia, right? Staraptor does actually, like, objectively look pretty neat, and it's pretty dang decent in the game, right? Yeah? Pokemon number 399. Bidoof. Wait a minute, we're at God already? I thought he was at the end of the Gen 4 decks. Here we have our Gen 4 regional rodent, and he is also our second regional rodent to become a big fan favorite thanks to the internet memeing the heck out of him. Though of course this time, instead of elevators, it's that Bidoof is the most powerful being in existence, actually. And like, where did that meme come from? Because the only thing I can think of is that one YouTube series, but like, did that one series really have that much of an impact on the community? Oh right, it's supposed to be a review. I like Bidoof, he's a cute little beaver. I like him just fine. So yeah, it's Bidoof. I guess continuing on this conversation, Bidoof is in the same generation as the actual god of Pokemon, so it's like, is that a coincidence, or was that a factor to making this meme? Like, Pokemon number 400. Bibarel. Bibarel, Bidoof, Bidoof, whatever. The evolution to Bidoof becomes a water normal type. And yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, Beavers making dams in the rivers, yeah, works. Now, of course, being the early game rodent, it's not very good, but all three of its abilities are pretty dang good, so you might be able to get some use out of it, at least in a playthrough team, As for the design, I guess I like him just fine, Maybe I'd have a less positive impression on him if it wasn't for 1, nostalgia, 2, Bidoof is God, so I can't say anything negative. So yeah, it's Bibarel. Mid-mon, decent abilities, and maybe you can make it work. Pokemon number 401. Kricketot. Generation 4's early game bug, and unlike the regional bird that finally followed tradition again, the regional bug here, Kricketot, is, I guess, breaking tradition and going back to what happened in Gen 2, where it only evolves once. And interestingly, unlike other regional bugs of the past, Kricketot kind of has a theme going on, he's not just a bug, but he's a little music bug, and he kind of looks like he's wearing some sort of, like, outfit that, like, he's wearing a band at a formal concert, he's a little music guy. And, yeah, I guess I'd like him just fine, he's pretty cute, but real weak. So, yeah, that's Kricketot. I mean, like, I know he's all dressed up for the concert, but, like, how is he gonna reach any of the instruments with those little hands of his? Pokemon number 402. Kricketune. Delelelel Whoop. You all know. Kricketune, of course, is most well known for his insanely detailed and iconic cry. Of course, continuing on the music theme from Kricketot, Kricketune here is like literally like a bass, and he can like use his scythe arms as like the string to play himself. That sounds wrong, but like no, that's exactly what it is. And of course he needs all that extra stuff because he's not good. So yeah, it's Kricketune. Iconic, nostalgic. No, sorry man, I still can't save you from those bad stats. Pokemon number 403. Shinx. Oh, I love Shinx. An absolutely adorable little lion lynx mix cub. Fantastic. Now, Shinx here is the 4th gen equivalent, in my opinion, to Ralts. No, I'm not calling Shinx a waifu, we'll get to those. What I mean is an extra early game Pokemon that you can catch, it's a little rare, and then it evolves twice so it stays useful throughout the entire playthrough. I guess maybe Mareep would count as Gen 2's equivalent, which is ironic because another electric type. So yeah, it's Shinx. A fantastic, adorable little mon that might just be worth going through the effort to find early game. Pokemon number 404. Luxio. The evolution to Shinx, and of course it's a bit more bigger, a bit more intimidating, still can potentially be shown as cute as well, so it's not an awkward middle stage at all, but it's still just a middle stage, so. What we can talk about is with it being evolved, its stats are now more pronounced, and we see that it's a physical attacker. And physical attacking electric types, even with the physical special split, not the best. with its best move in its debut generation being 65 power Thunder Fang, like, ooh. Luckily, its special attack isn't absolutely garbage, so it can just still do the usual Thunderbolt and such. So yeah, it's Luxio. A nice, fine, non-awkward middle stage. But come on now, let's get on to the final stage. Pokemon number 405. Luxray. Oh, Luxray is so cool. Absolutely love him. You got this really cool, intimidating lion with this neat mane, and he has X-ray eyes, so you ain't hiding from him. If he wants to get you, he'll get you. And of course, he, Staraptor, and a starter is joked as the common core that every Sinnoh team has because bad diversity in Sinnoh. And yes, I am firmly in the camp of he should be part Dark type. Yeah, oh, but a lot of Mons learn Crunch and Bite, and they shouldn't be Dark types, so Luxray ain't anything special. I said it with Huntail, and I'll say it again. He looks like he could learn stuff like Dark Pulse. Heck, he learns Night Slash via Egg Move. So yeah, that's Luxray. Finally, Sinnoh core is complete. Pokemon number 406. Budew. A lot of the time when I introduce a new baby Pokemon for an older Mon, I go, but why? But this time, no, it actually makes complete sense. While Roselia isn't that strong, still its stats are a bit too much to be an early game encounter, so easy fix, just give it the baby Budew and there you go. And it's just the strangest thing that they randomly introduce this grass type in Gen 3, it's super weak, doesn't really do anything, have anything, and then immediately in the next gen they heavily expand upon it by giving it a pre-evo and, in the next video, an evolution. So it's like, huh. Either it was pure dex filler and then they decided to fix that because they actually liked the design, or they came up with the idea for a pre-evo and evo like right after the game ships, so like, oh, whoops, I guess next time. So yeah, that's Budew. For once, a baby Pokemon is actually helpful. Pokemon number 407. Roserade. Oh, now here we go. Roselia is finally useful with an absolutely fantastic evolution. Shout out to Roserade being a special attacker, yet in the Battle Tower, I lost my streak to a physical Roserade set because it just caught me so off guard. Swords Dance? On a Roserade? What are you cooking? Oh, I lost. In fact, Roserade is so fantastic that it used to be my favorite Pokemon. Yes, this is what dethroned Eevee for me. But how? Well, first time playing through X and Y, I beat the entire game and caught all the legendaries without using my Master Ball. And because I didn't want to accidentally use it on some random Mon while spam clicking and catching them all, I decided to give it to a random Pokemon in my PC to hold, that being Roserade. And then that spotlight made me just go look at Roserade and be like, that's actually a pretty neat Mon. Alright, it's my favorite now. Though I'm sure you might have caught the keyword used to be. Yes, Roserade now was dethroned. But what in the world dethroned Roserade that dethroned Eevee? Well, we'll get to it. One day. So, yeah, that's Roserade. Absolutely fantastic in basically every aspect. And I guess it's technically the first waifu of Gen 4? Yeah. Pokemon number 408. Cranidos. Here we have our first fossil Pokemon of Generation 4, and I guess if you need some evidence that Game Freak actually doesn't like following patterns, I guess the fossils would be the perfect go-to, because it's real sporadic, you know, when they add fossils or not, because, like, we get them for, like, 4 generations in a row, and then we don't get them in Gen 7, then Gen 8, then none in Gen 9, so it's like, yeah, there's no pattern here, they just do it when they have an idea. Of course, Cranidos here is most known for being the ace to the first gym leader of Gen 4, and with that 125 attack stat, and respectable for this point in the game, 58 speed stat, you're gonna need to definitely make sure you're prepared, or else he might just do some crazy damage to you. So yeah, that's Cranidos. A good first boss. Pokemon number 409. Rampardos. So, remember how I said 58 is a decent speed stat for Cranidos at that point in the game? Well, our boy Rampardos here still has that 58 speed stat, so, yeah, it ain't good anymore. Rampardos really just is most well known for being so slow and having such low defenses that his sky-high 165 attack does not matter, because, he's gonna get outspeeded in one shot a majority of the time. Though, to speak positively, I do like his design, he looks neat. And then his one and only ability before hidden abilities are introduced is Mold Breaker? Bruh. Congratulations, you can hit a Gengar with Earthquake. Oh, never mind, that's bad to one-shot you. So, yeah, it's Rampardos. Sure, he's a nuke, but he's a little too easy to defuse. Pokemon number 410. Shieldon. Here we have the other fossil for Gen 4, and Shieldon's real cute. I definitely do like him. Of course, with Shieldon being a first stage tank, he suffers from the usual difficulties of training up because he's a first stage tank, so he can't really do anything or survive anything. Certainly not with that 4 times weakness. Game Freak, why do you keep doing this? Giving a tank a 4 times weakness kinda makes them lose being a tank. So yeah, it's Shieldon. I mean, he's cute, but I don't really know how much it's worth it to really train one up. Pokemon number 411. Bash Shieldon. I already said it was Shieldon, so I'll just quickly get it over with. Oof, that 4 times weakness kind of ruins him being a tank. Not very good. But there's some positive things to talk about with Bash Shieldon. First off, he's most well known for being the ace to the 6th gym leader, and it's a fantastic bit of lore storytelling that the 6th gym leader has one fossil Pokemon, the 1st gym leader has the other fossil Pokemon, and you know, it's father and son. So it's neat. It's a fantastic game design. I love it. Also, shout out to that Bash Shieldon-shaped castle in Pokemon Battle Revolution, a classic. So yeah, it's Bash Shieldon. I mean, he looks neat and is well used in the story, but ooh, that 4 times weakness really brings a supposed tank down. Pokemon number 412. Burmy. Game Freak back at it again, giving a random, intensely detailed gimmick to this weak early game bug. Like, what? Again? So here's how it works. Every time you end a battle with Burmy, he changes his cloak to fit the environment. There's only 3 options though, so it's limited, but still. And then when you evolve him, that cloak is now set in stone and gives him a secondary type depending on said cloak. If it's a female, if it's a male involved in something completely different, Game Freak, why are you putting so much detail into this bug? So yeah, it's Burmy. This man right here, this man has everything for some reason. Pokemon number 413. Wormadam. If Burmy is female, it evolves into Wormadam, and takes its cloak into account, now giving it a permanent second typing. Those types being Grass, Ground, or Steel. And interestingly, all 3 forms have different stats, though Defense is always the highest stat for all 3 of them, and with 2 of them having a 4 times weakness, Game Freak, come on now, what are you doing? You gotta realize what you're doing at this point. Which makes the question of which Wormadam is the best very quick and easy, because it's the only one without a 4 times weakness. Still ain't the best, but like, not the worst. So yeah, it's Wormadam. Interesting gimmick. Too bad it ain't on a stronger Mon. Pokemon number 414. Mothim. So if Burmy is a male, it just completely ignores the whole cloak gimmick and evolves into this completely separate Mon. And while all the Wormadams were a lot more defensive, Mothim here is a lot more offensive. Though its stats still aren't very good, so it's not the best, especially with, once again, a 4 times weakness. Though I gotta say, I do like Mothim a lot more than Wormadam, mainly just because I like moths, you know, Venomoth is a favorite of mine, just moths are neat. So yeah, it's Mothim. I'd say ignoring the cloak gimmick was a good thing for Mothim, but no, it still has a 4 times weakness. Pokemon number 415. Combee. Immediately after Burmy, we have yet another weak early game bug with a gimmick, but of course this one isn't as complex. Simply put, only female Combees evolve. However, the gender ratio you can find them in the wild is only a 12% for a female, so hard to get one. And then of course the only way to get a Combee is to slather some honey on some trees and then wait half a day in real life. Thank goodness you can soft reset those trees for a female. So yeah, it's Combee. A little bug that actually is the harbinger for the most evil thing one can do. No, not murder. Go on Wonder Trade and give away male Combees. Pokemon number 416. Vespiquen. Vespiquen. Honestly, kind of a tongue twister right there. Our second waifu of Gen 4? Does Vespiquen count? I mean, I guess if Blossom counts, then yeah. For the decent amount of effort it takes to get one, Vespiquen isn't really the best, but you know, it's decent enough. I mean, it has 3 entire signature moves, all around the fact that it's a Queen Bee, though one of those signature moves was taking out in Gen 8, so bet down to 2, but still, it's one of the signature moves, Attack Order, just one of the best bug-type moves in the game, honestly. Especially back in Gen 4 when we were just finally getting good bug-type moves. So yeah, it's Vesoquen. We really do got Queen Bee over here with those multiple signature moves. Pokemon number 417. Pachirisu. Our Pikachu clone for Gen 4, and just like a lot of other expected Mons of Generation 4, this is the first time we've really set it in stone as a pattern, since, you know, last gen there was 2 Pika clones, and the gen before that it was kind of ambiguous of which was the Pika clone, so this time we finally have, yep, this is the one and only Pika clone of Generation 4. And I really like Pachirisu. It's an adorable little squirrel. Of course, Dawn had one in the anime, a classic. Though we all know the one big thing about Pachirisu. Pachirisu here is a world champion. It was used by a world champion in the World Championships. It took a Draco Meteor directly to the face and survived, and yeah, it helped the guy win. It was a classic moment. So yeah, it's Pachirisu. It may just be a Pika clone, but it has definitely left this mark. Pokemon number 418. Buizel. Buizel, whatever. Buizel is a neat little water type that I do really like, and of course it's an absolute classic when it comes to the anime, belonging to Ash after being... It was traded by Dawn, right? Dawn caught it and then traded it to Ash. It's been a while since I've seen the Gen 4 anime, so, but I'm pretty sure that's how he got Buizel. And you know, in general, Buizel is just a nice, reliable, early game water type you can get, and relatively useful throughout the entire playthrough, I'd say. I'm pretty sure you could count Buizel among the Sinnoh Core team meme. Of course, unless you chose Piplup, then you're gonna have a water type. Oh, and of course, shout out to the new yet already infamous quest in Legends Arceus of Big Buizel, Little Buizel. So yeah, it's Buizel. Cute, classic, and reliable. 3 strikes, knockout. Pokemon number 419. Floatzel. The evolution to Floatzel, who isn't really as iconic since, you know, Ash never evolved his, but I mean, he did belong to the 5th gym leader. He was his ace, so, you know, that's something. Or 4th if it's Diamond and Pearl, you know who I'm talking about. And while physical attacking water types are definitely outclassed by special attacking water types, you do get Waterfall for free, and that's a physical move now, so that's still pretty decent use. Though, of course, the big thing I remember Floatzel for is being a Mon you could catch and then ride on the water in Pokemon Ranger 2. I think he was one of the first Surf Mons you could catch. It's been a while since I played that game, I don't remember. Like, yeah, you catch a Floatzel and go up to the Ice Castle, right? It's been a long time. So, yeah, it's Floatzel. Not as iconic, but hey, he still has his moments. Pokemon number 420. Radical. Cherubi. Cherubi's a cute little cherry Pokemon. I do like it just fine, even though it's pretty dang weak and kind of difficult to get, being one of those honey tree Pokemon you gotta deal with. Though if we thought honey trees were bad, oh, Legends Arceus proved us wrong. I haven't 100%ed Cherubi's dex page yet, but I am sure it is going to be painful when I do. Though before that Legends Arceus infamy, I'm pretty sure Cherubi fell under that category of Pokemon so forgettable, everybody remembers them. You know, actually, there's a few of those in Generation 4. An interesting observation. So, yeah, it's Cherubi. Classic Game Freak, making a weak Pokemon not worth it real hard to get for some reason. Pokemon number 421. Chero. The evolution to Cherubi, and it's not very strong, you know, maybe it's useful, like, beginning to mid-game, but, like, late game, that 85 in special attack and speed, not really gonna cut it with the big leagues. Of course, Cherim is most well known for having an alternate form it takes when the sun is up. And it's like, it's not tied to its ability, it doesn't power up when it goes into this state, it's just another form it takes when it's sunny outside. That Game Freak coded into the game specifically just for this one Mon. It's like, why go through the effort? That's really random. Game Freak, if you're going through this much effort for this Mon, maybe you should have given it better stats. So yeah, it's Cherim. I said it once and I'll say it again. Classic Game Freak for giving an entire gimmick that got a program into the game to one random weak Mon. Pokemon number 422. Shellos. Shellos is a neat little water slug Pokemon, with the gimmick of it being different depending on if you catch it in the east or the west of the region, whatever region it's in. And it ain't even a simple color swap, both are genuinely a little different, so neat, and that's some nice effort. Though which one do I prefer? I prefer the blue one. The pink one has those weird bulb things on its head. Not a fan. So yeah, that's Shellos. What, you lost? No, you don't need a map. Just look at what color the Shellos is, then you can easily figure out where you are from there. Pokemon number 423. Gastrodon. I always found it odd of why they put Gastrodon on the champions team, because, I don't know, it just didn't look like a champion mon to me, but like, it has water and ground. That's like one of the best types in the game. Of course it's really good. And you know, its stats are actually pretty decent with high HP and special defense and even special attacks, so it can take a hit and it can even maybe deal out a hit. Silly childhood brain of mine not realizing it may look derby, but no, it is definitely champion material. Oh, and shout out to the pink one getting rid of the weird bulb things when it evolves, so it's a lot less, and a lot more reasonable. Though I still prefer the blue one. So yeah, it's Gastrodon. He may not look it, but this guy right here, his guy's champion material. Pokemon number 424, Ambipom. Our first new evolution to an older Gen Mon, mainly from Gen 2. And Ambipom here might just be the definition of nostalgia brain rot, because my first generation was Generation 4. And so I've always been with Ambipom, and I don't really have a problem with him, but apparently he's like widely hated among the community, and I mean, I guess I see he does look a little ugly, but like, eh. And I mean, yeah, his appearance might be a little ugly, but like, his stats are not. 100 attack, 115 speed, ooh. And then he gets the Technician ability, and then Skill Link as his hidden ability, he's pretty decent actually. So yeah, it's Ambipom. Don't judge a book by its cover, because hey, he may be ugly, but he's pretty decent. Pokemon number 425, Drifloon. Drifloon is an absolute classic, thanks to its mini Pokédex entries talking about how it just steals children away that grab at its strings because it looks like a balloon. And then there's another Pokédex entry talking about how it fat shames by not stealing larger kids. Though I'd argue Drifloon is actually more notorious for something else other than stealing children. In the Gen 4 games, you need to see every Pokemon in the base Pokédex before you can unlock a majority of the post-game. And our friend Drifloon here is only seeable in 2 locations. Number 1, it's a static encounter on Fridays in the wild. And number 2, it's held by one gym trainer that you have to go out of your way to get the question wrong in order to fight. And if you don't fight them before you fight the gym leader, you no longer have access to that trainer. Which means you are locked out of the post-game until you wait an entire week or whatever to the next Friday to get a Drifloon in the wild. Impeccable game design, Game Freak. So yeah, that's Drifloon. Wait, where'd Pikachu go? Pokemon number 426, Drifblim. The evolution to Drifbloon isn't as infamous, though he still does have a little bit of infamy with him. Specifically when it comes to challenge runs, like Damageless, because Drifloon's ability, one of his abilities, Aftermath, makes it so if you knock him out with any physical contact move, you just automatically lose some HP when he faints, so gotta work way around that in order to beat that challenge. And you know, Drifloon is pretty decent. It has really high HP, but then low defenses, but then decent special attack and speed. It's an odd and interesting mon, for sure. Oh, and shout out to its hidden ability being Flare Boost to like really show it's a hot air balloon. A neat touch. So yeah, that's Drifloon. Better be careful when popping this balloon, especially if you're on a challenge run. Pokemon number 427, Buneary. Buneary's an adorable little rabbit. I do really like rabbits, they're fantastic. Yeah, I don't have an actual Buneary plush, that's the closest we got. And of course, Buneary's an absolute classic in the anime with Dawn's Buneary. That was the one that had the crush on Ash's Pikachu, right? It's been a while since I've seen the Gen 4 anime. And Buneary also has this really interesting fun fact of being the only Pokemon, when you catch it, having a base 0 in friendship, when normally it's like base 70. So like, it's a friendship evolution, so now you gotta work extra hard because it's always at 0. It always hates you when you catch it. And all that effort for what it eventually becomes? We'll get to that next time. So yeah, it's Buneary. What a surprise, the little bunny is cute. Who could have seen that coming? Pokemon number 428, Lopunny. In my video on Gardevoir, I think I was able to make a genuinely decent argument for why I like Gardevoir for genuine, wholesome reasons. I don't think I can do that with Lopunny, no matter how long the video may be. And that's because Lopunny here is very clearly based off the Playboy Bunny. Absolutely wild. I thought Game Freak was crazy for making Blaziken, a Pokemon based off of real-life fighting chickens. I thought they would, want to stay away from real-life animal fighting with a 10-foot pole, but I guess that's now the least surprising thing, now that we have Lopunny here, based off something even wilder you would not expect them to touch with a 10-foot pole. But, talking about purely factual numbers, I've used Lopunny a few times, and it's a decent mon, It's decent stats. And of course, purely when it comes to stats, its Mega is absolutely insane. But at the end of the day, I dare not say I like Lopunny. I dare not say it. Wait a minute. So, yeah, that's Lopunny. Wait, I got it. The perfect excuse for liking Lopunny. I like a lot of Pokemon. In fact, you can even say I like a majority of Pokemon. So of course, just statistically speaking, Lopunny just happens to fall in that group of Pokemon that I like. The majority of Pokemon. That majority group. Nailed it. Pokemon number 429. Mismagius. Man, immediately after a Waifumon, we get another Waifumon. And looking back, and if you count investment point, that's 4 already this generation, and we aren't even done yet. Gen 4 be popping off. Mismagius, of course, is a much-needed evolution to the very underwhelming Misdreavus. Mismagius is a witch, fully through and through, with a high special attack, special defense, and speed, so it can blast off special attacks. And of course, the look, the fantastic witch hat. Though it is version exclusive, unfortunately, so if you're playing Pearl, you gotta make room for Mismagius. So yeah, it's Mismagius, a witch worth recruiting. Pokemon number 430. Honchkrow. An evolution to Murkrow that really kicks up the gangster mobster look to 11. Honchkrow here is the big boss, the big honcho, Big Honchkrow. Yeah, that's probably where they got their name. Shout out to his fainting animation in Pokemon Battle Revolution where he tips his hat when he faints. Bring that back, Game Freak, please. Just this one animation we really, really want. And as for his stats, well, he has a really high attack, but then low defenses, and then mid-speed, so it's like, sometimes he can do something. So yeah, that's Honchkrow. Oh no, he's a bird. He doesn't have a ring to kiss. How do I make a good first impression? Pokemon number 431. Glameow. Glameow's a neat little cat Pokemon. I definitely do like it. I really like that spiral tail. It's a really neat design. And shout out to its ears just being so big that if you silhouettes Glameow, it just looks like it has just one big crescent head. You can't tell those are ears. Also, shout out to Glameow for being one of the forgotten Pokemon, not in the regional decks after Gen 4 until the Gen 4 remakes. So yeah, that's Glameow. Croissant head looking at Pokemon number 432. Purugly. Yep, that name definitely tracks. A classic tale as old as time, pampering your cat until it gets fat and lazy. Though of course Purugly here is most well known for being an infamous early game boss fight in the Gen 4 games. Like, with that 112 speed, it is going to outspeed you and try to put you to sleep. And that 82 attack may not be top tier competitive, but in between badges 1 and 2, it's gonna hurt. So yeah, it's Purugly. It's actually kind of odd that its defenses are its lowest stats. Its defenses really should be higher considering, Pokemon number 433. Chingling. Baby pre-Evo to Chimecho. Why? That's so odd. I mean, I guess Chimecho, while it's not very good, still is too strong for being an early game encounter, so giving it a pre-Evo so you can get one earlier on makes sense? And yeah, I guess Chingling is much easier to get than Chimecho. 10% around several routes, so much better than the 2% in one location off the beaten path and a few small patches of grass that Chimecho was. So yeah, it's Chingling. Maybe a smaller bell, but ironically, it's easier to find. Pokemon number 434. Stunky. Here we have a Pokemon based off, of course, the classic skunk. I say it's surprising that it took them 4 generations to make a skunk Pokemon, but no, it took them a lot longer to make a T-Rex Pokemon and a lot longer to make a dolphin Pokemon, so yeah, that's just how it goes sometimes with obvious animals. And of course, Stunky here has a butt face, and people say his cry sounds like a fart, so it's like, yeah, they really did go and make the skunk Pokemon one big fart joke. But Game Freak was having a whole bunch of fun in the office that day to making him. Oh, and I didn't mention during the Glameout video, but Glameout's a Pearl exclusive, and Stunky here is a Diamond exclusive. Why the version exclusive pairings are a skunk and a cat? I don't know. So yeah, that's Stunky. And I mean, even the name, Stunk, Game Freak really went 110% on this one. Pokemon number 435, Skuntank. Not Stung Tank. They switched the K and the T around on us for this evolution. It's a little confusing. Skuntank, just like its counterpart Purugly, is another boss fight, this time after the second gym, though I don't think I've ever heard of it being as difficult, and I definitely don't remember it being as difficult, though Poison and Dark is a fantastic typing that doesn't give it too many weaknesses, but I don't know, maybe you're just a little bit more prepared for Skuntank, so, you know, it's not as difficult of a fight. And it has a very interesting design, with it shooting its smelling spray out of its tail that is, like, curled up and sitting above its head. Interesting. Odd design. So, yeah, that's Skuntank. You know, actually, I guess since, like, it has something, you know, in front of it that, like, shoots out the ammunition, yeah, it's kind of like a tank. Name fits. Pokemon number 436, Bronzor. Bronzor's a neat little ancient metal mirror-looking guy. I guess I like him just fine. Though, of course, I vividly remember hearing him just float around and do his cry during the, I think it was the Darkrai movie, just, you know, in the background for a bunch of scenes or something. And I also remember Bronzor for, I think it was the third Pokemon Ranger game, where there was a room with a puzzle that you know, moved mirrors around to reflect light, and the mirrors looked like Bronzor, but then some of them were actually Bronzor, so they'd jump out and attack you. Yeah, memorable moment. And I guess I talked about his cry in the anime, but also his cry in the game is pretty neat. So yeah, that's Bronzor. Memorable for even his minor roles, at least for me. Pokemon number 437, Bronzong. The evolution to Bronzor is kind of infamous, because 1, he has a fantastic typing in Psychic and Steel, 2, he has real high defenses, and 3, which everything adds up to be crazy, 2 of his potential abilities basically make it a guessing game of what you need to hit him with. You have either Levitate to get rid of ground weaknesses, or Heatproof to get rid of fire weaknesses. And back in Gen 4, when Steel resisted a lot more things like Dark-type, yeah, you needed to use fire or ground, and as in, you just had to guess what his ability was and what would hurt him. So yeah, that's Bronzong. You feeling lucky, punk? If he has Levitate, he gets a free turn from you after that Earthquake. Pokemon number 438, Bonsly. A baby Sudowoodo, which may seem strange at first, but honestly it works. Bonsly, bonsai, tree, usually made of petrified wood, which is what Sudowoodo is based off of. Yeah, this is actually pretty clever, and I think that the cleverness justifies Bonsly's existence. And of course the bonsai pot that he's in, looking like a diaper, and he's a baby Pokemon. Very clever design. Also, Sudowoodo has a 100 in attack, so yeah, giving him a pre-evo that you can get earlier on in the game makes sense. So yeah, that's Bonsly. Yeah, it really didn't take too much effort to justify this baby Pokemon's existence. Pokemon number 439, Mime Jr. A baby pre-evo to Mr. Mime. How strange. Definitely more odd than its counterpart. Oh, right, I didn't say it, but Mime Jr. and Bonsly are soft version exclusives, therefore counterparts. And babyifying Mr. Mime, yeah, it definitely looks not as disturbing. It's even, yeah, kind of cute. I guess I do like Mime Jr. Maybe even it does deserve that retroactive fairy type it got, whereas Mr. Mime still questionable about that fairy. Oh, and I guess, yeah, Mr. Mime has a 100 in special attack, like how Sudowoodo has a 100 in attack, so yeah, pre-evo to get one earlier on, sure. So yeah, it's Mime Jr. It took a bit more convincing, but I guess I can justify Mime Jr.'s existence. Pokemon number 440, Happiny. A baby pre-evo to Chansey. Huh, yeah, that's kind of odd. Since it's weaker than Chansey, and Chansey already has horrendous defense, its defense must be even worse. No, actually, it has the exact same defense as Chansey. A 5. I guess I just didn't want to go any lower. And I guess Happiny does go with the rest of the baby mons we've been talking about, where making stronger Pokemon easy to get earlier game by giving them a pre-evo, and yeah, Chansey's definitely not an early game Pokemon, that's for sure. And I guess I do like the lore that the thing Happiny has is not an egg, but it's a rock that it's pretending to be an egg, because, you know, it's a kid playing house, pretending to be a Chansey. It's a cute detail, I like it. So yeah, it's Happiny. I guess since this is a baby Pokemon, this definitively shows how low Game Freak is willing to go for a stat, that being 5. Pokemon number 441, Chatot. Chatot is a weak random one-stage Pokemon that is fondly remembered thanks to his role as assistant to the Guildmaster in the second Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game, a classic. Though Chatot is also known for being infamous for his signature move, Chatter. Chatter is a move that allows you to record whatever you want and have Chatot say it in battle. And you know, it took a minute, but Game Freak finally realized, wait a minute, there are bad words people could say. Oh no! So in Generation 5, Chatot, along with Legendaries, were banned from competitive play, and in Gen 6 they just removed the ability to record with Chatter. Though, ironically, Chatter is stronger the louder you are, so the meta play isn't to say a bad word, but it's to scream into the mic as loud as humanly possible. So yeah, that's Chatot. Fondly remembered by the community, not fondly remembered by Game Freak when they realized how he could be used. Pokemon number 442, Spiritomb. Oh, I love Spiritomb, he's super cool. This well-designed, actually kind of scary and intimidating looking ghost Pokemon, with lore talking about how there's 108 evil souls banished into this one keystone to make up this Pokemon. Metal. And I especially gotta shout out Spiritomb using Destiny Bond in the anime. Ooh. But then a question comes up. You can breed Spiritomb and to make more? How is there more than one? This is a very specific lore Pokemon, so there really should only be one, like a legendary, you know? Interestingly, there are 2 Pokemon that are treated like legendaries but aren't and can breed in this specific generation. So yeah, that's Spiritomb. Very spooky, very cool. Pokemon number 443, Gible. The first stage of the pseudo-legendary of Generation 4, a bit earlier in the Pokedex than usual, kind of an odd placing. Now Gible here is absolutely fantastic, super adorable, love it. He's just this adorable little land shark baby thing walling around, super cute, and of course Ash's Gible in the anime, very adorable, and I do wish Ash's Gible evolved, you know? And, at least in Platinum, you can get one super early, so you can actually, you know, put one on your team and then bond with it throughout the entire playthrough, unlike most other pseudos. So yeah, that's Gible. Mayhaps the first pseudo-legendary people were actually able to bond with on a journey. Pokemon number 444, Gabite. The middle stage for Generation 4 Pseudo is kind of odd because he evolves at level 24, which is that's so early. You could have a middle stage Pseudo by the 3rd gym, maybe the 4th, like, that is wild. I'd say they did that because you can get Gible so early, but before Platinum there was Diamond and Pearl where you couldn't get him until you got Strength, so I don't think so. Though other than that, you know, he looks neat, I do like him, but, you know, I got more to say about the big boy. So yeah, that's Gabite. So what, he's a early bloomer that then just falls off eventually? Oh no, you just wait. Pokemon number 445, Garchomp. This thing is so big, it doesn't fit on the shelf with books, it needs an entire shelf by itself. The fully evolved pseudo of Generation 4, the ace to Sinnoh's champion, and just an absolutely insanely strong, absolutely fantastic, super cool looking Pokemon. I love Garchomp. I'd say Garchomp's my favorite pseudo, but there's Generation 5 pseudo and Tyranitar, so those 3 are fighting against each other all the time for my favorite. Garchomp, of course, is notorious for being just such a difficult boss fight at the end of Gen 4. In fact, Garchomp's so strong, Game Freak always makes sure to never let him learn Dragon Dance, even if it's a TM. Also, along with burrowing in the ground because he's a land shark, he can also just fly because he's based off a jet. Wild. So, yeah, that's Garchomp. Now this guy, this is a pseudo-legendary dragon, let me tell you. Pokemon number 446, Munchlax. A baby pre-evo to the classic Pokemon Snorlax, and yeah, no, it easily makes sense. Of course, Snorlax is real strong, so getting one earlier on makes sense. Except, getting one is a pain worse than Feebas. Munchlax is one of those honey tree Pokemon, so you gotta wait 12 hours for a chance to get him. A 1% chance? Munchlax is a 1% chance on a honey tree, but it's even worse, because he's only on a few randomly selected trees throughout the many that populate the entire world of Sinnoh. Bruh! So, yeah, that's Munchlax. Let's see here, 1% on a few random trees, you don't know which trees. Yeah, not happening, I'm just gonna get that guaranteed Snorlax from Heart Gold Soul Silver and breed him down. Pokemon number 447, Riolu. An absolute classic, fan favorite, and I do really like him. Yeah, Riolu's fantastic. Definitely worth the effort of going through that optional side quest on Iron Island. Riolu, of course, is just this adorable little baby Anubis-looking guy. Fantastic, and then what he evolves into, fantastic. Though, of course, I know Riolu more for how broken he is in Mystery Dungeon, let me tell you. Play as Riolu, get lucky and get the Focus Punch TM early on. And then, here's the setup. Turn 1, a Violent Seed. Turn 2, Focus Punch. One-shots a majority of the bosses. So, yeah, it's Riolu. An absolute classic for all sorts of different people in all sorts of different media that Riolu's in. Pokemon number 448, Lucario. Here we have one of the most popular fan-favorite Pokemon in many different respects, and would it be a surprise to say I really like Lucario? Yeah, no, he's fantastic. Fighting and Steel, a great typing. He's surprisingly a mixed attacker with good special attack as well. Of course, Aura Sphere, a classic. Has that whole neat aura thing going on that I do really like. And he also has a pretty neat movie that I do like, though ironically, I'd say his movie's a lot more remembered for How the Reggies Cry. Oh, and of course, Lucario's in Smash, with the neat gimmick of the more damage he has, the stronger his attacks are. So yeah, it's Lucario. If I had to pick one Pokemon to be a modern classic, I would definitely say him. Like, I'm sure even a lot of Gen 1ers are like, yeah, Lucario's pretty neat. Pokemon number 449, Hippopotas. Hippopotas is certainly a funny-looking mon with that big old nose-mouth thing, those beady little eyes. Yeah, I like him just fine. Now, getting a Hippopotas is very odd, because he's only available in one small cave in the game at a 5% encounter rate. That is if you didn't catch any unknown. If you catch 10 unknown, it jumps up to a 10%. And then if you catch all the unknown, it's now a 20% encounter. Huh. Very odd. So, yeah, that's Hippopotas. The number 1 Sand Eater himself. Pokemon number 450, Hippowdon. You got this big ol' intimidating hippo that'll just hide in the sand and then crunch you with that big ol' mouth. Very scary. And he and his pre-evo don't sweat the usual sweat, they sweat sand. Wild. Though, of course, Hippowdon is most known for trolling everybody, because the male and female have a completely different color scheme. And you know what else has a different color scheme? A shiny. So I am sure every single person who's ever played a Pokemon game, the first time they encountered Hippowdon, well, the second time when they encountered the other gender, they're like, oh, a shiny? And then no, that's just a gender difference. Game Freak, you did this on purpose. I am sure of it. So yeah, it's Hippowdon. Who knew a hippo would be Game Freak's biggest troll? Pokemon number 451, Skorupi. A neat little poisonous scorpion Pokemon. I do like him. Scorpions are neat. Skorupi is the first Safari Zone exclusive Pokemon this generation, which is a big marsh this generation, with a bunch of swamp-themed Pokemon. Kinda odd that they decided to do that, but it's probably has something to do with the real-world location Sinnoh's based off of, you know? And of course, classic Game Freak, Skorupi doesn't evolve till level 40, which it's a bit high, especially with that 50 in attack. Feels like Skorupi would fall off and have trouble keeping up. Those last, what, 5 levels? Maybe more so? So yeah, that's Skorupi. You know, actually, the Great Marsh is pretty dang dangerous. That deep mud you sink into and all those poisonous scorpions walking around. Ooh, no thank you. Pokemon number 452, Drapion. Or Drapion, whatever. The evolution to Skorupi, Drapion here is kind of a menace. Mainly thanks to childhood me just sitting there all confused in the Elite Four. Why isn't my Fire-type move super effective on him? It was on his pre-evo. Maybe that's because he lost the Bug-type, kid. And to add to the confusion, now that he lost the bug typing, ground is super effective where it wasn't before. And while you're trying to figure out what is super effective on him, Drapion's over here with Sniper to up critical hit damage, Night Slash, high critical hit ratio, and just Night Slash being a stab move, so, ooh. And then skip ahead a few generations to when Dark has one less resistance, ooh. So yeah, that's Drapion. He may not be a guaranteed menace, but he has a good chance to be. Pokemon number 453, Croagunk. An absolute classic poisonous frog Pokemon, thanks to Brock getting one in the anime and then it being the one to shut him down every time he hits on someone that season. And of course we can talk about just cartoon logic all day long, because he's getting jabbed with poison on the daily, so like, that cannot be good for his health. And of course Croagunk is also known for being a wild pick in Pokken, and just having all these wacky, silly animations and such. He's just a funny little guy. Heck, in the games, 61 attack and evolves level 37. Not bad. So yeah, that's Croagunk. Who would have thought a silly little poisonous frog would be so iconic, but that's just how it works sometimes. Pokemon number 454, Toxicroak. The evolution to Croagunk is one of those evolutions that aren't as iconic thanks to its pre-evo just being in all sorts of media and it just existing. Though, I mean, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Saturn's Toxicroak had a rivalry with Brock's Croagunk, so I guess that's something. And things don't get too much better when you go to the games, because he has a 4 times weakness to Psychic and 86 speed. So while he can outspeed a good chunk of things, Psychic types, you know, they're known for being fast but frail, so all they gotta do is outspeed and hit them with a stab Psychic and ooh, yeah, no, he's down. So yeah, that's Toxicroak. The classic tale of being outshined by your pre-evo. A tale as old as Generation 1 itself. Pokemon number 455, Carnivine. A pretty neat looking Pokemon based off the Venus flytrap. Though since this thing is sentient and can move around, it's certainly a lot more dangerous than the real-life plant that just sits there and hopes a bug is stupid enough to get close enough. Though, of course, Carnivine is most well known for belonging to James in the anime, and just continuing the tradition of James's Pokemon just basically crunching down on him to show their affection. Though we move on over to the games, and yeah, it has 100 attack, but 46 speed, a pure grass type, and it's rare in the Safari Zone? Ugh, not worth it at all. So yeah, it's Carnivine. Luckily he looks cool and has the anime to bolster his popularity because he ain't too good in the games. Pokemon number 456, Finneon. One of the Pokemon to continuously show up on most forgettable Pokemon lists, but if it's so forgettable, how does it keep showing up on those lists? Though of course, I'll argue that Finneon is not forgettable. Why? Because nostalgia. I'm nostalgic for Generation 4, so the basic fish of Generation 4, not forgettable at all. Those other basic fish in other generations I'm not nostalgic for, those are the forgettable ones. I mean, just look at it. It's so fish. I'm really not helping the case. So yeah, it's Finneon. I mean, nostalgia's king, so since Platinum was my first game, Finneon's the best. Pokemon number 457, Lumineon. Alright, hopefully you're able to pick up on the satire in the Finneon video. There were some jokes in there. Hopefully you realize that. Because now we're gonna get serious, and I'm gonna make some actual arguments for why I think Lumineon is, nostalgia put away, pretty neat. It has a beautiful cry, absolutely love it. It really just isn't a basic fish-looking mon, because it has those fantastically designed wing fin things. Love them. And it has a surprisingly type-diverse move pool, which sure I can't really take advantage of thanks to those horrible stats, but still, it has that. So yeah, it's Lumineon. Hopefully I've been able to make my point to show why, other than nostalgia, I prefer Lumineon over, say, Seaking. Pokemon number 458, Mantike. A baby pre-Evo 2 Mantine, and the last one for this generation. Odd that they would give him one. I mean, I guess Mantine isn't really an early game Pokemon, though it deserves more an evolution than a pre-Evo, but sure, whatever, if you want to get one earlier, that's fine, I guess. Except, Mantike is only available on the route before Victory Road. Game Freak, what was the point then? But okay, that's just the usual first generation Pokemon hard to get. What about other generations? Nope. You can never fish one up early game. It's always, you can only get a Mantike via Surf. Surf is usually mid-game. Mantike is not a mid-game Pokemon. Mantine is a mid-game Pokemon. So yeah, it's Mantike. Potentially the one baby Pokemon you can't get early game. Pokemon number 459. Snover. Snover's a fine little Pokemon. I guess I like him just fine, you know? Like, he immediately gets 3 strikes. Slow, 4 times weakness, and evolves at a late level, level 40. Yeah, no. Out before he could even try. Well, alright, does he have any notable appearances in other media? I got nothing. You know, Finneon's kind of known for being one of the most top 10 forgettable Pokemon, but honestly, it feels like Snover fits better. So yeah, it's Snover. With all those negatives and nothing of note, all I can really say is, ouch. Pokemon number 460. Abomasnow. Alright, peak humor right here. Oh, Abomasnow. Abomasnow has all the same problems as his pre-Evo, but, you know, he's an abominable snowman, so that's a little more interesting at the very least. Did you know? Those spikes on his back represent mountains. Yeah, that's a fun fact that's now stuck in my head forever, ever since reading it in a book I got at the Scholastic Book Fair back in elementary school. Who remembers those? Are those even still a thing? Of course, the funniest part, it was only stock art of him in the front, so I couldn't even see the spikes on his back that they were talking about in the book. So yeah, it's Abomasnow. Maybe as forgettable as his pre-Evo, but thanks to that random book, I at least have one memory with him. Pokemon number 461. Weavile. And we've now made it to that part of the Pokedex where there's just a bunch of evolutions for older mons. And starting off with an evolution to Generations 2 Sneasel, boy did they need it. I mean, the physical special split already kind of helped Sneasel, but no, this evolution was definitely needed. Weavile is kind of known as like one of the only good ice types because it's what an ice type needs to be in order to be good. That is, a very fast glass cannon. And yeah, I do like Weavile. It's a great evolution. Takes the one leaf on Sneasel's head and turns it into a whole crown hat thing. Fantastic. So yeah, that's Weavile. The evolution train has begun, and what a way to start it off. Pokemon number 462. Magnezone. Finally, a non-lazy evolution to Magnemite. Though honestly, that does make Magnezone stick out, considering what the other two in his line do. Nah, I don't care. I love Magnezone. I am very happy. They just broke tradition and did a unique design. And yeah, Magnezone's great. I love how in the anime, you just see it multiple times where people ride a Magnezone like a flying saucer. Real neat. And while he does have only 60 speed now, 4 times weakness, that 4 times weakness is ground, and ground types themselves are actually pretty dang slow, so yeah, Magnezone, not the worst. Also, he's got sturdy, so after Gen 5, yeah. So yeah, it's Magnezone. Thank you, Game Freak, for not just giving us, what, 9 Magnemite together? Was that the path they were going down? Pokemon number 463. Licky Licky. This evolution to the classic Pokemon Lickitung is seen by many as a horrid abomination. But like, my guy, why aren't you pointing that effort towards Lickitung? He himself is an abomination. Complain about Lickitung just existing in the first place, because like, obviously, his evolution was going to be even worse. I don't know, man, I like Licky Licky. You know, he had that classic role in the Darkrai movie. He was great. Of course, you want to complain about him not being very good at games. Yeah, fair enough. He's just a tanky normal type, like just eh. So yeah, that's Licky Licky. You know, if you haven't been catching on by now from the last few videos, I'm a bit of a big fan of a lot of these evolutions. The Gen 4 nostalgia is hitting real hard. Pokemon number 464. Rhyperior. This evolution to Rhydon right here is the peak of Generation 4 nostalgia. Because, and I do hate to get political, but I need to come out as pro Rhyperior. What can I say? Generation 4 is my first game, so that means that, in my point of view, I've never known a world where Rhydon was this perfect, finished Pokemon. Rhyperior is superior. I happen to like that horn nose and those rocky arms with those holes in them, the hands to shoot out rocks at high speeds. He is just this big, bulky, intimidating fellow. It also helps that he was the cornerstone of my triple battle team back in Generation 6, soaking up those electric type attacks with a lightning rod, so my water and flying types on either side could just go to town. So yeah, it's Rhyperior, the ultimate drift between me and the Gen 1ers, let me tell you. Pokemon number 465, Tangrowth. Oh look, a non-controversial evolution to an older Gen Mon. Not as common as you'd think it'd be for the last few Mons that we've been talking about. At least I think most people like Tangrowth, you know? He is just a bigger Tangela, who was already supposed to get an evolution in Gen 2, but they scrapped it, as we saw with those leaks. But thank goodness they brought it back and gave him one. Of course, I remember Tangrowth the most for being the first boss in the second Ranger game. And Tangrowth is even surprisingly good in the games. You know, obviously not the best, most competitive Pokemon ever, but I underestimated him, and my friend proved me wrong in battles we've had with each other. Yeah. So yeah, it's Tangrowth. Potentially a non-controversial evolution to a Generation 1 Mon. Who could have seen that coming? Pokemon number 466, Electivire. An evolution to the OG Pokemon Electabuzz, and it's absolutely fantastic. I love Electivire. He's a lot more bigger and bulky, and therefore more intimidating than Electabuzz, and yet, in his Gen 5 animated sprite, he hops. Interesting. I love the whole tail wire things. They're real neat, and have they been used to attack before in the anime? I can't remember. And even its main ability, Motor Drive, is pretty decent, you know? Predict an electric type attack, switch in, get a speed boost, and that already 95 speed? Yeah, he's going to town. So yeah, it's Electivire. Now this is how you breathe new life into an old classic. Pokemon number 467, Magmortar. Or Magmortar, whatever. An evolution to the classic Gen 1 Pokemon Magmar finally gets rid of the butthead and replaces that with hand cannons. And that's my favorite part of Magmortar. Love the whole hand cannon thing and all the animation that has to do with switching between hand mode and cannon mode. Fantastic. And again, just like Electivire, this evolution is a lot more big and buff and intimidating than the pre-Evo, and yeah, love it. And of course, Flame Body is just a fantastic ability. So yeah, it's Magmortar. Be careful who you call ugly in high school, cause he made you grow up to just have cannons for arms. Pokemon number 468, Togekiss. I know a lot of the Gen 4 evolutions are controversial in a way, but I think Togekiss is like the one Pokemon that everyone agrees needed to happen. You know, Togetic was just not a worthwhile reward for all the effort you had to go through to get it, and now just add one extra step, find a shiny stone, and bam! You got one of the best Pokemon. Great and competitive, a fan favorite just in popularity. I personally love the design, and the cry's a classic as well. It's just a good mon. And you know, Togekiss is the perfect example to point to bolster just speculation on what Game Freak's mindset was when making a lot of these new evolutions this generation, which we'll get to in a future video. So yeah, it's Togekiss. Talk about going from 0 to 100, this now absolutely not worth it reward is now very worth it. Pokemon number 469, nice. Yanmega. What's that? That random bug from Generation 2 that was genuinely just a trophy? Yeah, let's give it an evolution to make it look super cool and be actually usable and just wild. Yeah, I love Yanmega, he's fantastic. And like I mentioned with Togekiss, this shows a philosophy that people have speculated Game Freak had. Basically, the theory is that because this was the first generation with online play and a World Championships, Game Freak decided to go back and look at all those trophy Pokemon and then give them evolutions, actually make them usable, competitively viable, since online competitive is now a thing. They completely changed their philosophy because now competitive and online was a thing. So yeah, it's Yanmega. An absolutely fantastic Pokemon. Oh, and all that speculation, that's all just a theory. Okay, Pokemon number 470, Leafeon. A grass-type evolution. And would you really be surprised to hear I like Leafeon? As usual, it's just adorable, and I love just all the little bits of the design. You got the leaves coming out of here and there, you got the ears and tail kind of having that like gradient from the yellow to the green to look like leaves as well. Fantastic. And its stats are really dang good too. 95 speed, 110 attack, and then Chlorophyll is its hidden ability to double its speed. Oof. If this thing got Solar Blade, it would be an absolute menace. It's still pretty dangerous. So yeah, it's Leafeon. And they may have taken a generation off, but coming back, they definitely did not forget and did not miss on this evolution. Pokemon number 471, Glaceon. So I've seen it in my comment section a few times, where when I call Pokemon bad gameplay-wise, people get upset, like I'm personally attacking the Pokemon. And that's just not the case, with Glaceon here being the perfect example, because Glaceon is my favorite evolution of all time. Glaceon here is also the worst evolution of all time. I love every piece of its design. Its cry is absolutely beautiful. The pattern around its legs and feet make it look like it's wearing little snow boots. Adorable. I love that crown thing with those tassels and the same tassel-lookingness on its tail. Fantastic. But those stats are make this design such a waste. 60 speed is not good. 60 speed does not work on an ice type. Slow ice types do not work. Oh, but you know, Leafeon, its counterpart's hidden ability, brings its speed up in the sunshine, so what about Glaceon? No, it doesn't have an ability that brings its speed up in snow. Oh, but that ability didn't exist till Gen 7. Then give it to Glaceon in Gen 7. You gave Pelipper Drizzle as its main ability in Gen 7, so why not give Glaceon Slush Rush in Gen 7? What are you doing, Game Freak? You're wasting this design! So yeah, that's Glaceon. The biggest pain one can feel when one of your favorite Pokemon has horrible stats. Pokemon number 472, Gliscor. An evolution to that random, version-exclusive area after the 8th gym, but still real weak Pokemon Gligar, very much needed. Like, Gligar wasn't worth the effort at all. Wasn't worth the version exclusive. He wasn't even that rare, so he wasn't a trophy. He was just there, and just, but Gliscor, ooh, fantastic. 95 in attack and speed, great. Ground and flying, a fantastic typing. Of course, a show stealer is next generation when it gets the hidden ability Poison Heal. Can't get any other stats addition because he's poisoned. And then that 125 defense and then Swords Dance. Oh, incredible. So yeah, it's Gliscor. Very much needed. Because now we can appreciate Gligar for the cute little guy first stage instead of the weak little guy only stage. Pokemon number 473, Mamoswine. An evolution to Piloswine. You know, that random Gen 2 ice type that genuinely looks incomplete in like a middle stage? Yeah, finally fixed that. You know, people can be arguing back and forth about how a lot of these new evolutions this generation, how they feel, and if they feel like they actually continue the feel of the previous Mon they're evolving from. But I think Mamoswine here is definitely the most Pokemon that feels like an actual continuation, like it fits, like really just fits right in with the other two. But you know, that's just how I feel. And you know, Mamoswine is absolutely fantastic. 130 attack and stab Earthquake. Like, sure, he's weak to fire types, but you better hope you one-shot him or else he's gonna Earthquake that fire type of yours. So yeah, that's Mamoswine. Hopefully you're feeling what I'm feeling about Mamoswine. Alright, I'm saying feeling again. Pokemon number 474. Porygon Z. Alright, let's get the elephant out of the room right away. Yes, Porygon Z is outclassed by his pre-Evo when it comes to competitive viability, especially thanks to the Eviolite introduced next generation, but I still really like Porygon Z, he's great. You know, it's such an interesting way to end the classic Porygon line, accidentally installing malware on it and making it go insane. Porygon Z is such a wacky guy, and I love all the erratic animations he has. And of course the new but immediately timeless classic Dex entry in Legends Arceus, where the professor's like, he concerns me. And you know, away from competitive, he's pretty decent in games, you know, 135 special attack, and he's a normal type, so he can learn a ton of variety of types. Fantastic. So yeah, it's Porygon Z. Ironically, with his pre-Evo being better, it really goes to show that installing malware is not the ideal. Pokemon number 475, Gallade. A male-exclusive counterpart to Gardevoir. Interesting, especially considering Gardevoir could be male. Of course, I really like Gardevoir, and I do really like Gallade as well. He's neat. And it worked out perfectly because my good friend and real-life rival, his favorite Pokemon was Gardevoir, so yeah, I really like Gallade. Perfect counterpart. And then recently he randomly changed it to liking Gallade more, so now I have to like Gardevoir. Well, no, you don't have to. No, we're rivals. We have to be opposite. That's the rule. So yeah, Gallade's no longer my favorite of the two, because the other guy changed his mind, so I have to too. But still, I like Gallade, you know, those blade arms are real cool. So yeah, it's Gallade. Now, as you can see, I have a Gallade plushie along with a Gardevoir plushie, so my claims of wholesomeness stand. Because if I just had a Gardevoir plushie, then you could start asking questions. But I got both. I like both. Pokemon number 476. Probopass. Another one of those evolutions that people go, ugh. Except, you know, he's just more of the base form, so if anything, be complaining about the base form for existing. You know, I like Probopass. He's a funny looking guy. Big old nose, that funny mustache made of electric sand, magnetic shaving things, I don't know what they're called, and that funny hat, and he has those little mini Probopasses, you know, that you see in the anime. He uses to, like, attack separately, so it's like 4 against 1. It's neat. Also, Probopass has hit me with the biggest Mandela effect of all time, because I swear I do not remember him having the Steel typing until Gen 6 when he was in the Elite Four. But like, no, he's always had the Steel typing. I'm like, what? So yeah, it's Probopass. Okay, maybe the argument is Nosepass was just enough and Probopass is too much, but I don't know, man, that mustache sells it on me. Pokemon number 477. Dusknoir. Noir? So Dusknoir is a weird case. Because I got into Pokemon in Generation 4 when Dusknoir already existed, it makes Dusclops look incomplete, of course, in my eyes. But like, Dusclops literally has a version-exclusive counterpart, and Bayonet looks complete to me, but that's because he didn't get an evolution, but then it's like, you see my train of thought here. Though I do really like Dusknoir, he looks real neat. Though yes, he is once again outclassed by his pre-Evo being tanky and then being able to use that Eviolite to get even more tanky. You know how it goes. He, of course, has a famous role in Mystery Dungeon 2, though even as a kid, I saw it from a mile away he was a villain. What? This evil-looking Pokemon's evil? Whoa! So, yeah, that's Dusknoir. Shout out to the, what, like 2 people that'll laugh at the Noir joke? You guys are the real ones. Pokemon number 478. Frostlass. A female-only evolution to that random ice type you can only get in that one cave at a certain time of day? Huh. Frostlass is, of course, based off the Yukiona or Snow Woman, or there's a lot of names for this, and honestly, I feel they're very underrated, so shout out to Game Freak. Frostlass here is the final waifu Mon of Gen 4. I mean, she doesn't look completely humanoid, but like just enough, and considering what she's based off of, yeah, I'd consider her one. And I bet you look at her and think, speedy special attacker, right? Well, good speed, but same attack as special attack. Odd. So even though she's not that much better than Glalie, the speed still probably really helps elevate her. So yeah, it's Frostlass. Alright, you can thank me for not making a single Frozen reference in this video. You can let that fear go. Pokemon number 479. Rotom. Our first legend... No, Rotom is not a legendary. But like, you only encounter one in Gen 4, in a set location, he has legendary music, does not have a base 3 catch rate, and can breed. Oh. Yeah, Rotom's an odd one. I definitely subscribe to the theory that he was going to be a legendary, but then they changed their mind or something. Though, yeah, I do really like Rotom. He's real neat, possessing all those appliances that get a secondary typing and such. Cool. Though it is really interesting just, like, how oversaturated, not complaining, I still like him, but, like, how oversaturated Rotom is. Like, he's literally possessing everybody's phones nowadays. Like, how many Rotoms do you need to get everybody a Rotom phone? That's a lot. So, yeah, it's Rotom. The most legendary, i.e. well-known, Pokemon for not being legendary? Pokemon number 480. Uxie. Alright, now, we've made it to the first legendary Pokemon of Generation 4. And the start of the Lake Trio. Because, you know, they're all in lakes. And with Gen 4 being all about mythology and history, Uxie here is known for giving knowledge and the ability to think to everybody, so that's interesting. Now, Uxie here is always the first one I go after when hunting this trio because it learns Yawn, and that, you know, putting Pokemon to sleep, very handy, especially against legendaries. And it's tanky, so it can stay on the field for a while. Nice. So, yeah, it's Uxie. You know, since it's all about knowledge, you think it's gonna have a bunch of books in its cave next to its Lamborghini? A fair theory. Pokemon number 481. Mesprit. Mesprit is kind of the default leader of the group, protagonist of the Lake Trio, for multiple reasons. One, its lake is literally right next to the hometown of the main character, so yeah, it's very much associated with the protagonist a lot. And you know, where the other two are more bulky or more offensive respectively, this one's a lot more balanced. though its most standout thing is that it's a roamer, so yeah. Though shout out to Game Freak for at least making it seen in your Pokedex right before it starts roaming, since, you know, you kind of need to see every Pokemon before you can get access to most of the post-game. So yeah, it's Mesprit. You know, its color scheme actually also really fits with the whole, it's a protagonist thing, because you know the classic meme, you see an anime and all those characters, and then there's that one character with pink hair, and you're just like, I wonder who the protagonist is. Pokemon number 482, Azelf. The final of the Lake Trio and the offensive one of the group. And while none of them are really the best competitive-wise, I think Azelf is like the most used just because good attack. And I just have a very core memory with this trio because, of course, when I twas a young lad, I would try to catch them in net balls because I thought those were the coolest thing ever. What? It throws a net on the Pokemon and then tries to capture it? That's so overpowered. This must be the strongest Pokeball ever. Yeah, considering it's only a Pokeball with no additional effects because they're just psychic types. You can imagine how long it took to get these guys in net balls. So yeah, that's Azelf. Okay, continuing on the Mesprit discussion from yesterday. Yes, I know that blue for hair color is just as wild as pink, but like, pink hair is like the meme, so yeah. Pokemon number 483, Dialga. Dialga, whatever. The box art legendary for Pokemon Diamond. Oh, I love Dialga, he's real cool. Definitely prefer him over his counterpart, which is like the most milquetoast thing to say, but can't help it, man. I mean, 1, blue's my favorite color, and 2, I grew up with Mystery Dungeon, so like, obviously. Like, yeah, Dialga's counterpart's signature attack is like far better, and competitively better, but like, who doesn't love a good old Roar of Time noob? Shout out to genuinely not being able to beat him in Mystery Dungeon as a kid, so I sold the game, and then picked up Sky later, and was able to finally beat him. What can I say, man? Totodile and Pikachu just could not do it. So, yes, Dialga. Oh, we didn't even mention the whole time thing. Yeah, time is so cool. I love time travel and such, and like, Dialga stopping time to attack in the manga. Ooh. Pokemon number 484, Palkia. The box art legendary for Pokemon Pearl version. And like I said with Dialga, yeah, I prefer him over Palkia here, but like, Palkia kind of seems to be objectively better. Like, he has the exact same special attack stat as Dialga, but higher speed. And he only had one weakness until Fairy was introduced. And his signature move has a high crit rate and doesn't need him to recharge after using it once. Yeah, he's kind of starting to sound a whole lot better than my boy Dialga. So yeah, it's Palkia. You know what? Nah, I'm just gonna live in blissful denial and ignore objective reality. Dialga's better. Pokemon number 485, Heatran. Not immediately into the third big box art legendary, but some other random legendary. Okay then, strange dex order. Yeah, I like Heatran just fine. He's pretty neat. You know, being this lava creature that like crawls on the walls and such. Neat. Of course, I remember him most for his boss fight in Pokemon Ranger 2. And you know, competitively speaking, Heatran's pretty dang good. Since he's not a box art or a mythical, he can actually be used for 1, and then 2, he's just is a legendary, so he has good stats and a real good typing. Well, I say good typing, but he's weak to like the move Earthquake by 4 times, so yeah, Heatran just takes a bit of skill, but yeah, he's pretty good. So yeah, it's Heatran. Pretty random mon, that's kind of out of nowhere, but hey, he's pretty neat. Pokemon number 486, Regigigas. Continuing on those Regis from last generation by introducing the big man that made them all. Neat. And you need to transfer the Regis from Gen 3 up to Gen 4 to get Regigigas? Well, in theory, that's neat. In execution, when you got a kid like me who starts with Generation 4, that's just not fair. That means I just can't get him. Especially because, even back in the day, by the time Platinum came out, Gen 3 games were hard to get. Of course, Regigigas is most well known for his absolutely terrible ability. And then even in Legends Arceus, when they didn't have abilities, they specifically programmed it in so Regigigas would act like he still had his ability. Like, wow, that's a big old screw you in particular. So yeah, it's Regigigas. Look, I get it, you want to balance him because you can actually use him in competitive without a restricted format, but like, there's gotta be other ways, man, and that thing in Legends Arceus was a bit too much if you ask me. Pokemon number 487, Giratina. Finally, we actually made it to the third box art legendary of Generation 4, and oh, I love Giratina. With Platinum being my first main series game, the Distortion World is a heck of an introduction to the world of Pokemon, let me tell you. Now, would you be surprised to hear, with Platinum being my first game, that my favorite legendary is Giratina? insane if the fact that I have the plushie of both forms didn't already give that away. And it's kind of ironic, because here's the thing, I'm actually a tad religious. Not very, it doesn't really affect my personality very much, and I rarely ever talk about it, but it's just the fact that I am a little bit, and my favorite legendary is literally Satan himself. It has the 6 wings and legs and everything. It's it's just kind of funny. The nostalgia be overpowered. So yeah, it's Giratina. I think what it is I love a good guy that looks evil, or evil guy that turns good but still looks intimidating, because well, that's Giratina. Pokemon number 488, Cresselia. Another random unconnected legendary that's just here, though it does have a counterpart with a mythical, so Cresselia is a bit more justified, I'd say. And I like Cresselia just fine, it's a roamer, so that's pretty dang annoying, but And I want to shout out Legends Arceus for making Cresselia's boss fight actually kind of difficult. Not the most crazy thing in the world, but I had to stance up for a minute to get her. Good job. Oh, and its new signature move from Legends Arceus, good lord! Healing it and giving it evasion, and it's just so tanky already? Game Freak, what are you doing? Though, yeah, because it's tanky, it's also pretty dang good and competitive. Even better now with Lunar Blessing. So, yeah, it's Cresselia. I guess this goes to show that tanks really shouldn't be slept on, especially because Game Freak might just go and give it a crazy signature move. Pokemon number 489, Fion. Who is this? No, really, who is this? Yes, I know it's the offspring of the mythical we're going to get to tomorrow, but in the context of this series and this timeline, I haven't met the parent yet, so who is this child? Fion is such a weird Pokemon, why is it first in the Pokedex before its parent? Why does it even exist at all? It's not very strong, barely adds anything to the lore, I never thought they'd do a legendary dex filler, but here we have a legendary dex filler. So, yeah, it's Fion. I mean, I know they've added a smaller number of Pokemon this generation compared to last generation, but did they really need to do a legendary dex filler to bump up that number by just 1? Really? Pokemon number 490, Manaphy. Okay, finally, there's Fion's parent. Our first mythical, I don't know if Fion counts, Pokemon of Generation 4. Manaphy's distribution method is real interesting, considering you get it by doing a special mission in Pokemon Ranger, but you can only do it once, not per save file, per cartridge, physical cartridge of the game. And of course, because Ranger 2 was my first Ranger game, when I got back to Ranger 1, it was a used copy and Manaphy was already gone. Yeah, I like Manaphy just fine, it's cute, its movie was fun, has that neat ability to make people swap bodies. I think it has something to do with making their bonds grow stronger because they're stuck in each other's bodies. So yeah, it's Manaphy. With how hard it is to get, you can definitely consider calling it the treasure of the sea. Maybe the 1P? Pokemon number 491, Darkrai. Oh, I love Darkrai, he's real cool. And he's well known for a lot of things. He has an absolutely fantastic Pokemon movie, love that one. Very much remember watching that premiere as a kid, and then asking my mom to stay up a little extra late to watch the immediate premiere of Bakugan right after. That was some good timing on their part. And of course, he's revealed to be the big bad behind everything in Mystery Dungeon 2, and a very difficult boss fight, mainly thanks to Cresselia being useless. He's also known for legs. Yeah. And of course, he has a very turbulent relationship with Smeargle, since Smeargle's the reason Darkrai's fancy signature move was nerfed beyond compare. So yeah, it's Darkrai. Man, so much to talk about, and I didn't even mention the fact that in the anime, he was used as a roadblock to stop Ash from winning in Sinnoh. Pokemon number 492, Shaman. Oh, I love Shaman, it's absolutely adorable. Do I say the obvious line, boy, I sure do have gratitude that Shaman exists? Oh, actually, I just said it. And Shaman is the first legendary/mythical Pokemon to get a signature move locked to being at level 100. Crazy. And while Shaman isn't the most crazy strong thing ever, its other form, oh, now that's real good. And Shaman had a fantastic movie that it shared with Giratina, and I do like all of the 3 Sinnoh Trilogy movies, of course, but that one's the best one. Sorry, not sorry. Giratina's my favorite legendary, and I absolutely love Shaman. So, yeah, that's Shaman. The gratitude line would have been a great way to end this video. Whoops. Pokemon number 493, Arceus. If you haven't noticed, Arceus has kind of been watching from above the entire time. He has descended. So Arceus here, of course, is the god of all Pokemon, the creator of the Pokemon world and everything. He's kind of a big deal. Of course, he's real well known for having that event in Generation 4 that was cancelled because the developers thought it was too complex when they made the Reggies last generation. And then we finally got that event with the remakes. Though then right after he got his own game, which is you could say it's popular among the fan base, you know? And that game even answered an age-old question of, well, if he's the god of everything, you can just catch him in a Pokeball, haha. Nope, that's only a piece of him that you catch, as we saw in Legends Arceus. That's not the whole thing. Also, that absolutely wild event in the Gen 2 remakes where they just have real-world images and such. Crazy. Oh, and I guess I haven't said what I think about Arceus yet. Yeah, I like him. He's really cool. I love how the entire Sinnoh movie trilogy is just building up to him being the big final boss of the third film. Fantastic. And, you know, for me, personally, Arceus here was one of my first plushies I ever got as a kid when I got into Pokemon. Which is kind of funny, considering how important he is. He was just one of the first things I got. There's definitely a joke in there that you could make about how my parents raised me religious, because they actually did, but then they, you know, bought me this plushie not knowing his status, so, yeah. And, you know, he's really cool with all those different plates, changed into every single type. Real neat. And that Legends plate in Legends Arceus, where he changes his type to match the super effective type of the opponent, oh, that's real cool and real overpowered, which, very fitting. So, yeah, that's Arceus. For once, Game Freak actually took the Pokedex order into account and put him in a fitting spot at the end of the Pokedex for Gen 4. Oh yeah, right, this is the last Pokemon Gen 4. We're done. Oh, and it's been a minute, so One Piece updates. The latest episode I finished is 834, and oh man, the build-up to that wedding was handled so well. All of the plot twists and such, and just the tension building and building and wondering, how are they going to get out of this? What are they going to do? And then we finally get to the actual wedding, and oh, the tension is so good. And you got the heartbeat sound effect playing while we get closer and closer to the main event, and during that, my heart was unironically beating real fast. I could, like, hear and feel it, and it's like, calm down, man, it's just a silly little cartoon. You know the main characters are gonna be okay, but seriously, it was such good tension, such good build-up. And this is considered the bad part of the One Piece anime? Really? Well, if that's the case, then I am extra excited to see what the good part of the One Piece anime looks like when I get to Wano in 60 episodes. Oh, and One Piece update. The latest episode I finished is 892, which means I'm on to Wano. Finally! I'm out of the bad part of the One Piece anime. Apparently. Yeah, guys, that really wasn't that bad. Like, I've seen far worse shows. Like, come on now. Now, I can say that, you know, I did notice, you know, some things definitely felt insanely stretched out, and there was a lot of noticeable recaps and flashbacks to pad out an episode, and I did notice a few awkward-looking animation frames, and some of the fights did feel kind of stiff. Oh, that's a lot of negatives. Well, let's turn it around to positive. But at the end of the day, it was still the insanely high quality, fantastically written story, fantastic written characters of One Piece. You know, it was still absolutely fantastic. But no, I mean, I get it, you know, One Piece is sacred, so if the anime adaptation isn't absolute perfection, if it's anything less than absolute perfection, then it's complete and utter garbage. Sure, yeah, I understand. Though I will say, I did temporarily drop One Piece multiple times, like honestly once per arc, post-time skip. But let's think about this logically for a second. Did I drop it because the quality heavily dropped and it became a drag to watch? Or was it because I had binged the first 500 episodes in a row and I finally got a bit of burnout? Oh, and One Piece update. The latest episode I finished is episode 1000. Man, that is wild to say. I'm almost caught up with One Piece. I remember the first time One Piece like really came into my consciousness. Sure, I'd heard about it previously, but this is like the first time I really thought about One Piece. It was during the end of Whole Cake Island. People online were like really loudly hyping up Katakuri, the fight against him, and you know, that got my attention. And yeah, that was a good fight, so definitely worth the hype. And I remember looking at One Piece at the time and thinking, 800 plus episodes, and it's still going? Oh yeah, no shot, I am never watching that. And here I am. Finished episode 1000. The saying really is true. Doesn't matter what you think about One Piece, doesn't matter who you are. Eventually, One Piece will find a way to get you. Almost caught up? With 100 episodes left? What has One Piece done to me? Oh, and One Piece update. I'm done. I'm all caught up with the anime. Man, that is wild to say. I'm finally on this journey with everybody else. Yeah, kind of sad that I joined when we're literally on what's called the final saga, but I have a feeling that, this saga, there's so much that needs to be finished before the show can finish, so I have a feeling this saga is going to be a bit longer than previous sagas, which were already very long. But what's next now? Obviously, I'm gonna now go pick up the manga where the anime left off and catch up with that, duh. Oh, and One Piece update. I'm all caught up with the manga. I am now current. That is wild. Absolutely fantastic. I get to finally really be on the journey with everybody else for this last stretch. But now what? I'm out of One Piece. No, actually, there's all those filler episodes I skipped. There's all those movies to watch and such, and I've been hearing good things about that One Piece Odyssey video game, If you can't tell, I do like a good RPG, so yeah, I'm gonna have to go check that out. And in an ironic turn of events, one of the main companies behind One Piece Odyssey is Ilka. Yeah, that Ilka. This was literally their very next game after BDSP. Wild. Especially considering the generation I'm in right now.